I'm being told we're running out of time.
It's okay.
It goes by very quickly. And I know that our viewers would really love to have an update on what's happening with the public inquiry of the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia.
Okay, well, basically, I'll explain what information is already in the public domain. This week we had Daphne's birthday, and on the day we were in court trying to find out more justice and trying to find out more truth. Truth not only as to her assassination and how that took place and how that came about, but also truth on the political aspect. That is, did this country, did the administration of this country foster such sense of impunity that could allow the commission of an assassination which took place, which was so cruel and so cold-blooded in its motive and in its nature. And I think in the last 2 weeks, what has come out from the public inquiry is clearly that there was an administration which was a hidden administration. We've had two ministers, Minister Bartolo and Minister Scicluna, explain that although they are members of cabinet, there was a kitchen cabinet. That is, it is true they were members of cabinet. It is true that during the meetings of cabinet, they themselves approved projects which we now today know to be very shady and to have to be full of negative shadows of kickbacks and shadows of corruption, basically shadows of thieving from the public money and also from public assets. But it wasn't just about knowing from two high-level members of cabinet that the administration was run by a kitchen cabinet, but it was also the sense of lack of action by those same members of cabinet. So you're a member of cabinet, you can have a sense of what is taking place. You know that you are the minister for economy, you know that you're the minister for foreign affairs and formerly the minister for education. You know that you're two of the most senior ministers in the cabinet, yet you vote in line with whatever the kitchen cabinet is asking you to vote for.
Sure.
And I think this came out very clearly from the public inquiry, from these two testimonies. But we've also had another development just today where Minister Scicluna last week expressed that the company which Konrad Mizzi used to use to run some of the major projects which our country has seen in the last years, that is Projects Malta Limited. And he said that this was one of the companies that was most lacked transparency, so that the Minister of Finance actually had to pour his soul out, cry out to obtain information. Only then do we find out that the permanent secretary of that same ministry was a director from day one and still is a director. But then we also had the chairman, two chairmen already from that company testifying that the project came to them. The project was given to them by Minister Mizzi. They did not participate in the drafting of that project, of any project, but the project came to them. And because cabinet has approved it, or the kitchen cabinet had approved it, then they could do nothing else but accept it. And we've seen how one of those chairpersons actually, upon being given the project of Vitals, the project of the hospitals, the sale of our hospitals, decided to resign, decided he had had enough. He had come from the private industry. And he testified indicating, and this is published in through our media, he indicated that he came from the private sector. In the private sector, things were done differently. People were allowed to do their job, to participate in making decisions. Decisions weren't thrown upon them. And that because of this, he decided to resign his post.
Sure.
He was sidelined. He wasn't able to carry out the position he was asked to carry out originally, and therefore he resigned.
Yes.
But this is one resignation of someone who wasn't a member of cabinet, who didn't have the power to stand up to this minister and to this kitchen cabinet.
Sure, sure. I mean, it's a complete mess. Because we're short of time, I'd also like to refer to the testimony of Jürgen Fenech yesterday at the public inquiry. Obviously, we use information that's available on the public domain, but can we have an update on that?
Yes, the testimony took place in the proceedings, which are being undertaken against Jürgen Fenech, who is suspected of having been one of the masterminds behind the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia. It was a testimony that was very shocking. It was very shocking because it showed how people who had a lot of political power in this country knew either of the assassination before it took place or after it took place, and how they decided to behave afterwards. So although the police inspectors testified and others testified that clearly people like the former Prime Minister and people like Cachia had knowledge at some point in time, before or after the assassination, of the plot about her assassination, they still kept on their friendships with those who were involved, closely involved in the assassination. And even worse, they still held on to their political power, to their political seats. And this raises questions which are then very important for the public inquiry, which is itself asking, how could these people allow such a sense of impunity to take place in our country, and how has this affected the rule of law, the institutions of our country, and how does it allow the institutions of our country to continue working and to continue moving forward, to actually continue doing what David said when he was still here earlier on in this program, to do their job.
Thank you very much. We can go on and on. The time's never enough, Therese, and I thank you very much for joining us today. I thank you very much at home for joining us. I'll be with you again next week at the same time. Should you have any comments, queries, as always, address them to Net Television or directly myself, anonymously, if you wish, via my blogs. I wish you a very good evening.